dangerous. I get it. Going hot. Like the hot coals. Remember that.
It's hot where I live right now, man. Jeez.
It's hot everywhere. It's 100% humidity. They say in Texas it's like 115 degrees. I wouldn't survive. I wouldn't be here to do that show. Luckily, not in Texas. I'm here in New York.
How does humidity get over 100%?
I don't know. Maybe that's not true. It feels like 150%, but you know what? We power through because we're professionals, so they tell us. Rocket Mortgage Classic 2023. You know the drill. Let's talk a little golf. Let's build some lineups. Let's make some money here at Stokastic. I'm Ben Rasa. That's Geoff Ulrich. Even on the NHL draft, no days off around here. A lot going on. Hopefully, whatever you're betting on tonight, whatever you're doing, the night's been treating you well. And now, like I said, let's break down this field. We're going to talk about the Travelers. We're going to talk about Detroit. We'll answer all your questions. You just said to me before we went live, this stretch of golf, man, from I love the Travelers too, but that was not the Travelers.
No.
Now we got this. Then we go to the John Deere. There's going to be a lot of birdies and a lot of streaks and bonuses in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it's going to be frustrating. That's what we were talking about, from the fact that, I mean, your guy can come out, you know, have a great round, but, you know, if he has that one round where he's just flat and he shoots like 1 under, I mean, it's just over. I mean, unless he does something superhuman, like a 58. And even then, man, like, I don't know. So it is, I don't know. I mean, like, everyone's playing the same course. I get that argument. And, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to take away anyone from who hit Keegan Bradley or whatever last week, but yeah, I just don't think that this is what the PGA Tour envisioned when they created elevated events. So certainly that wasn't the TPC River Highlands that we know. That used to be a pretty solid course, a scorer's course, but, you know, where 18 under would win. That was a joke. So I don't know. I think this week will be a little bit better. Detroit's a little bit longer course. I still think it's going to be a ton of birdies, but I know Finau just tore this place to pieces last week, but he was also just on an absolute heater. So we'll see. I've heard that the grounds are now, it's now wet there because it's been raining. So the initial reports were it was dry in Detroit, but now it's rained all week, so it's gonna be soft again. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so we can look back before we look ahead here to Travelers. Keegan, I see in chat, Brandon, a little 80-1 action. I was not even close to Keegan. I did not have a good week. Even just my week was summed up perfectly by matchups where I had Rory over Scheffler, and Rory took a 4-shot lead and posted, and Scheffler had, I think, 6 holes left, and he won going away because he's Scheffler, and he has AI catch up where it just, like in video games where the computer automatically it's not even fair. It's tough when there's 20 guys over like 15 under battling, but we need that mentality. Do you think there's something to that where, you know, you got to score? You have to score at all times. Because like you said, if you fall behind, it's not really feasible to make a move.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I mean, I'm complaining, but I do think that the easier courses definitely open it up for more players to potentially just get hot and get in that mindset where they're just scoring all the time. Because I don't know. I mean, I'm talking myself in circles here, but I do think that these kind of courses bring more of the field into play, which creates a more variable event. But you know, it is about being focused, and you know, if you know that you can't have any letdown, then I mean, you still have to stay focused. So again, you know, I think that Keegan was more of just like a course history play. And I think that his experience kind of probably just, you know, really paid off. I mean, the Travelers isn't a tough course, obviously, and it's hard to make bogeys, but at the same time, like, you have to have the confidence and know the course and know where to avoid the trouble on each hole still. So Keegan was obviously very adept at that. He had a lot of confidence. And I think that it was just one of those weeks where, you know, if you just looked at the course history sheet, I mean, you would have just cleaned up, and maybe that's as simple as you need to keep it at these courses. It's something I'm going to kind of consider, and I actually did consider this week when I was looking at some of my picks. So,
no doubt about it. So again, we know what we need. We know what we need to do. We'll talk Detroit in a second, but let's get into it. Let's start making some money. Let's start doing some things, and we want to start with free stuff. Why not? Rainmakers, always there. You see it on the top screen. Claim your PGA starter pack today. The link's below. Obviously, a lot of golf has been played, but the beautiful thing about PGA, there's a lot of golf to be played. And if you haven't gotten involved, you can get your free DraftKings Rainmakers pack. The link is below. You just click it. They'll give you some cards to get started with. Then what you do from there is up to you. Maybe you build out a portfolio. We obviously have Rainmakers content on this very channel, but if they're giving you free starter packs, might as well take those and see what you get. I've done it. I know a lot of you guys have as well. So claim that pack, make sure you don't pass it up. And maybe you build out a little lineup for Detroit Country Club, where you got to get to these par fives. They've got that stupid area code challenge, I believe. That's that course, right?
I think so, yeah.
It's like, oh, I live in the 716 or something dumb. But regardless, you got to go crazy low. It seems, and feel free to disagree, that driving distance is more of an asset here. You can really get it out there if you want to, and we've seen the Cam Davises of the world prove that point in years past.
Yeah, absolutely. Big fairways. I think the main thing is it's just a lot of opportunities to hit driver, like where you can just really like capitalize on it. I mean, it's not like a dog leg where, maybe it's a better idea to lay up. It's legitimately, you get it out there. You got some long par fives to deal with. I think, like there's, I can't remember what the distance is, but there's at least one par five. I'm pretty sure it stretches over 600, and it's basically just straight, just dead straight. So you smash it out there, you hit one of these gigantic fairways, and all of a sudden you've gained like 20 yards on your competitor. So a bunch of holes like that. Strokes gained off the tee certainly has played here in the past. I mean, even just looking at past leaderboards, I mean, I think you can gain that. Obviously, we had a Taylor Pendrith Finau showdown, but I mean, Cam Davis, a bunch of names that are now escaping me as well. But there's just been a plethora of like big hitters in the top. I will say this, like it's a putting contest. So, if Nate Lashley won here in 2019 and he gained 9 strokes putting. So it's certainly plausible that somebody who doesn't hit it that far, but is having a consistent week off the tee could come in here and grab this, but they're going to have to absolutely light it up with the putter. So, you look at strokes gained, the winners here typically have gained the most at the putting. And that even goes to like Finau last year and Pendrith. So keep that in mind. It's still a putting contest. Doesn't mean you have to cross like shorter hitters off your list, but if you're going for maximum upside, certainly the bigger hitters are where it's at.
Yeah, and like you said, there's always other ways to do it. If you want to gain 10 strokes putting, you don't need to do much of anything. That's going to help you anywhere. But here it does seem like you can be aggressive and you're going to have those opportunities. Because realistically, barring something really weird, the winner's probably going to be between 20 and 30 under. I think that's a pretty fair statement to say. When you know that, do you maybe say like, I don't need to worry about like bogey avoidance and scrambling as much, because even if your guy is saving for par, that's not going to cut it. Like I want par 5 scoring. I want birdie or better percentage and more attackable stats rather than defensive stats.
I mean, yes and no. It's kind of weird when I was looking at this course. I think maybe this has something to do with it being a par 72 as well with the par 5s. But like, you look at Finau, you look at Davis, and even going back, God, who won here before Cam Davis?
I'll tell you in not 1 second, but in 2020, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah. Oh, Bryson.
Yeah.
I beat you. Sorry. Yeah, but I mean, they all obviously smashed off the tee, but actually Cam Davis didn't even really gain that many strokes off the tee, but obviously his distance played. But my point was going to be like around the green has actually been, like the players have been pretty solid around the green. I mean, Cam Davis gained like 3 strokes around the green the year he won. Finau had a good year. So I wouldn't say around the green work is like, something that you'd necessarily ignore. I'm not looking for around the green specialist, but if a guy's been a disaster around the green, I'm not going to bet him for an outright. If he's cheap in DFS and he's really strong in the other areas like putting and off the tee, sure, I'll play him. But I do think like if you're looking at total package, I think around the green stats are actually something that may just be a little bit more important here than you'd think, because I think in most score fests, you're right. Like, we don't need to worry about it too much, but I think the biggest thing is if you like a player, as long as he's not a disaster around the green, there's probably a good chance he'll have success here. Because I think the other thing that goes part and parcel with that, I just don't think the around the green play is that tough here. So
no, certainly not. And I honestly, I think 2020 really sums up a lot of the points that anyone can drive, because if you just look at that board, I brought it up now, you have Bryson and Wolf.
Yeah.
2 Wildman, followed by Kisner Willett and Ryan Armour.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't have more opposite players all thriving in these conditions. So you can clearly, these par fives are so short, even the shorter hitters can get to them. And then you have the longer one that probably no one can get to. So it's not that big of a deal. You just need guys to score. I'll be honest, I struggle, I think, more in these type of events. I don't know if it's just variance and I can't like, oh, under 70 bone. And then it's just like, it's just more tilting, but it is difficult to really target. But we do have a different type of field, and let's get into it. We're going to talk about lineups later in the show. We're going to build some lineups. Don't worry, we got everything covered. Let's get to the top tier. Tony Finau, Colin Morikawa, Ricky Fowler, Max Homa, and JT. 5 north of 10. But Ricky, I don't know. It's such a unique situation because he deserves to be here, but he's going to be the most popular player on the slate at 10,400. What are your thoughts when you look at the top of the board?
So, I mean, just back to this profile quickly that we're thinking about, like, who do we want to target? I mean, for me, it's really like the Wyndham Clark prototype, and Wyndham Clark was top 10 here. Whenever I think Wyndham Clark, I think great off the tee, elite putter. Like Ricky's not really great off the tee. He is kind of an elite putter. The putter's really been working for him, so he does have that going. But at the same time, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, if we're like thinking, okay, what's a great course for Ricky to come to? I mean, I don't know. This really wouldn't be it for me. I mean, it's also Poa Greens, which I mean, like, I'd rather have him on probably on Bermuda or something. I know that's nitpicking, and it kind of is, but we're talking about a guy who's 10-4, and like you said, going to be the most highly owned player on the slate. I don't know, man. I just like, there's just more arguments here for me. Like, if you're on Ricky this week and you're really going all in, I mean, you're almost thinking that like either he's going to stay at this level or there's another level to come, and you're just betting on that. Versus the other argument where we're getting this huge variance birdie fest. He's going to be very popular. There's a chance, the putter just doesn't show up for a round. There's a chance he just regresses a little bit. I don't know. I would rather be in that second camp. I think you've just got more outs if you're fading him. That's just my take. I just think there's just more more arguments to that side of it than not. So I don't know. I don't have much invested in Ricky. I really haven't been on him. He's hurt me in DFS, but he hasn't hurt me on the betting side. So he almost did at the US Open. So I'm also just not in the FOMO camp right now. I'm absolutely fine. If he beats me at 14-1 as the most popular play, so be it. Especially in this kind of event. I don't care.
I tend to agree. And I come at it from a different position. I've been playing a lot of Ricky, and he's been solid for me, but and it's not like Ricky can't win the event. I think it's pretty clear he's playing well enough to win the Rocket Mortgage. But now he is priced where you're actually drawing to like wins and stuff. It's not Ricky Fowler's 8,100, and if he can make a cut and move up the board, this could be good. Like he's an opportunity cost of Colin Morikawa or Hideki or JT, like elite players with also serious win equity.
Yeah.
The guy though I want to ask you about, because you mentioned that Tony Finau took it apart here, and when he gets going, says he's comfortable on bent. What do you make of him? I think he's rightfully the highest priced player, but who are you looking to target if you go underweight on Ricky?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, you could definitely make the argument that like we're just getting sucked into like another Finau where it's like, oh, he didn't look that good and he's just going to come and blow this place apart. I could definitely see it. I have no problem using him in DFS. I don't think he's going to be super popular. I know we have him kind of around like, the 5 to 10 range in terms of just ranks, in terms of popularity, sitting around like the 18%, probably under 20% mark. I could see him coming in a little bit under that too. I really do. I think people, will maybe go for a balanced build, just, opt to get like JT and Ricky instead. I think Finau could really come in under our projections. So, the later we get in the week, I do like it. I mean, I'm not going to bet him, but I think that for DFS, it's absolutely fine to start with him. Even if he's not there 100%, I mean, talking about an elite birdie maker, guy who takes apart easy courses at will, like I would rather have Finau on this course at 10-9 than Ricky at 10-4, especially, and that's not even taking into account the ownership disparity. And I think there's going to be a decent gap. So yeah, I do like Finau this week. I think that Morikawa is getting up there in terms of like, you know, just where people are talking to him, but I'm also not sure how many people are like willing to just dive back in when there's Ricky under there, there's JT. So I mean, I like Ricky and I like Finau and Morikawa. I mean, I think that like just starting with those two, really unique stack. We're at a week where, again, I mean, you thought last week was variance. I mean, there's going to be a ton of guys like under 6. You're going to be like, who the hell is this guy at like 8 under par right now? So I think you're going to be able to mix and match and find some darts down there to play Finau and Morikawa together. I like that idea right off the top.
Before we get to the mid-range, we're actually gonna use lineup generator to spit out some Ricky lineups in just a second. But I want to ask you about Max Homa, because Max Homa of these guys is clearly the one that's struggling the most. He did not play well at the US Open, a course that a lot of people thought maybe that could elevate him in majors. He goes to the Travelers and he did not look great. I mean, again, if you don't play outstanding in terms of going low, you're not even finding the weekend.
Yep.
He does kind of scream that maybe he's just not best suited for this type of golf. He's better at, you know, winning score of 8 under. You're not getting an ownership discount is my biggest gripe. If he was 8%, I might go to a lot of Max Homa, but he's not. He's the same ownership as Morikawa and JT right now. So what do you think you do with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're kind of seeing with Max Homa is a guy who just was like, it's like the stock where it was going up, and then it just went nuclear. Like that was his progression early in the season, right? Like he just went nuclear. Homa. His putter went nuts. His ball striking was crazy. Everything just exploded at once for Max Homa. And I think we're just like, you know, people were like, is Max Homa the second best player in the world? No.
Turns out he's not. Yes.
Or definitely not. Definitely no. And it's like, yes, he was playing at a high level for a bit. But I think what you're just seeing is a guy who's just, you know, it's going to be a little bit more inconsistent than I think people realize. I think his realm is like Tony Finau, where Finau is going to be up and down and he's going to come in and blitz some courses at times and look like the best player in the world. And he's just not maybe as good as we think. But we think in those glimpses, it's nothing against Max Homa. The thing that I'm slightly intrigued about him, I like this setup for him. Like he's pretty big off the tee and he can really, like if he gets hot with the putter, it almost doesn't matter what the rest of his game is doing. So I do see the argument there, but like you said, he's not going to be like 5% owned. So no. I would just go Finau and Morikawa. Like I would stay there, but if you want to mix in Homa, I don't think it's bad, but I do think he's going through some stuff. I see him as a pretty risky play. So I would be tending, like, for his ownership projections where we have him. I mean, I would just say stay away or be a little bit underweight. If you want to mix him in, fine, but not a player I'm necessarily super bullish on right now. I just take a wait and see approach.
So would I. I'm going to have some exposure, but not my favorite play up top. But all right, before we get to the mid range, let's bring up, and you guys have seen some of these tools. Certainly the sim tools have been everywhere, but I also want to talk about PGA lineup generator, which is it's just super fun. B, it's extremely easy. If you're looking to make easy lineups, you bring up our lineup generator, which you can get for like a price of a cup of coffee for the week. It's like $4. Link is below. Yeah, $4.48 because it's 50% off your first week.
Expensive coffee, Ben.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee. So people.
Oh, right. Yeah, you don't even get this guy.
I don't know what goes on.
Lineup
How much is coffee in New York? Yeah, $5. Confirmed. Yeah. Like a price of coffee. All right.
That's about standard.
There you go. Jordan Klein, we're going to go. I actually want to do the opposite. And I do this sometimes with our lineup generator. I want to click on Ricky Fowler lineups. I want to see what is the competition going to look like. Yeah. So I maybe have better insight in DraftKings, what we can do. So if we go balance build and we go to Ricky Fowler, let's see what this looks like, because I think we can gain some insight. And this is, again, the power of these tools. You can use them any way you want. We start scrolling through, maybe we save some of these lineups. And then when we go to our exposure, we're going to see a good glimpse of what kind of guys are going to correlate to Ricky. JJ Spawn, Benny On, Hadwin. Immediately, what are we seeing? That like 7 to 8K range. And I'm not surprised with that, Jeff. I mean, You're going to see a lot of people take one of the 10K studs and then pepper the mid range.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, JJ Spawn's a little interesting, obviously not playing great, but some course history. I mean, that was probably the one outlier, but the rest of the names make complete sense. I mean, you got Keegan in there at 9-2, Benny On, who I think is getting some popularity this week. Kevin Yu, I think Kevin Yu, Ricky Fowler lineups are going to be extremely popular. Something to think about. And even Tom Kim down there. Like, I think starting Ricky Tom Kim is also going to be something people look at. Either Kim or Hideki. I think that's probably going to be popular pairing. So yeah, this is just a great, as Ben said, I mean, this it's a perfect way. See, I'm not smart enough to think like this, but Ben is. It's a perfect way to use these tools because you can reverse engineer and see what your competition is going to be doing as well. And it almost just your week can flow from this, right? Like you can say, okay, if I'm going to make Ricky lineups, maybe I'll just be a little bit different here and choose a couple pivots. And if you're not, then you can say, okay, these are the popular players. So, I mean, the tool has a lot of capabilities in terms of just, obviously you can create your own lineups with it and get your own player pool, but this alone lets you see what you're up against. So
there you go. Again, I think that's one of the coolest things that what the devs have done with these tools. And again, this is available to try out for less than $5 for a week. The link is below. We'll throw it in chat as well. Yeah, you could use it to build your lineups. You could also use it to say, okay, now I have a better idea of what I'm going up against. And I think that is a really cool part of it. Now, we've talked about the 10K options, and you just mentioned them. We still have plenty of guys, though, in this, I'm going to call it the upper mid-range. Why not? Tom Kim, Hideki, who I really like, Sunjay, Cam Davis types. I'm comfortable starting lineups with these guys. They can make an aggressive second man in. What do you see when you see the 9K plus options?
Yeah, I mean, I like, Tom Kim, Hideki are both interesting to me. I definitely get the argument for Tom Kim. I think Tom Kim's a better DFS play than necessarily a bet. I just still worry that, he's playing some good golf. The approach game is there, but I don't know if his putter is there yet. I know when he won last season, I mean, he was just so confident with that club. So, but at 9.8, I mean, he's under 10,000. I mean, he's certainly someone who can go absolutely nuts on this course, even if it's just for a round. I have no problem there. I think the more consistent play is actually Hideki right now, who is, you talk about that prototype, like guy who's just really consistent ball striker, can make all the shots, long irons, he'll be consistent enough off the tee. Hideki's just striping it right now. And then it was around the green game is really underrated. It's just one of those things with Hideki. So he's such a good par 5 scorer that I would look to him for a little bit of safety there. Like I would prefer Hideki, but I definitely like Tom Kim. I would rank him the third out of that group. But I mean, I don't really hate any of those guys, to be honest. I mean, maybe just click all three of them. I don't know. It seems like a pretty safe starting threesome. Hideki's a little, or Sungjae, excuse me, still a little bit inconsistent, but he definitely flashed last week. And Sungjae just doesn't stay down for long. So, I mean, I like all three of these players, to be honest. I mean, you can let ownership decide. Again, another reason why you guys should be subscribing to Stokastic so you can get the ownership projections. But yeah, I like all three of these guys, and I think it's pretty close between all three of them.
I do too. All three are going to garner some ownership. There's no doubt about it. But I think that's kind of warranted. I like Hideki quite a bit, though. He's definitely my priority. The thing, and I've said this a lot this week, but I'm just going to keep saying it, and it is one data point, but I think it's really important. When you see Hideki, and I get it, you think, great player, but is he suited to go this low? I mean, he's not that type of player per se. If you look at Hideki's last win on tour, was at the Sony Open, and he was 23 under. He can do that. He can get hot with his putter. It's just, it's not all the time like that. So I don't worry about Hideki, and he destroys. Like these par 5s, he's going to have one or two where he just hits a dart to 3 feet on a par 5 here. Like it's that kind of course for Hideki. So
yeah,
I like quite a bit. The guy I'm struggling with is Cam Davis. We know he can do it. He's priced like a former winner. And he did close with a little momentum, but his putter is pretty rough right now, and that does freak me out a bit.
Yeah, Cam Davis is interesting. Because the thing is, like, he's definitely priced up, right? But like we talk about Homa not really getting like the ownership discount. I mean, you are getting an ownership discount here on Cam Davis. And I think it could even be bigger than like we have him projected to be. I could see Cam Davis coming in close to 5% in some contests, potentially like the bigger contests as well. The thing about Davis is, like, maybe he's not playing quite good enough to win again, but man, can he ever go low in these kind of events? Like, if he just gets the weekend, I mean, he could be like the top scorer over the weekend, and it really wouldn't surprise me. So, again, I think that, we just talked about Kim, Matsuyama, all those guys are going to be popular. If you do want to go balanced, I don't hate the idea of going like two of those guys and then throwing Cam Davis in. That's really going to bring down your overall ownership. And I think that, again, like I talked about him being my third man. Like, I like the consistency with Sungjae. I think he's probably going to make the cut, be fine. But I think like Cam Davis, you taking me like for talking for like 2 rounds over the weekend. I mean, I'd take the upside of Cam Davis. So I kind of like that play from that regard. You don't have to go nuts with them, but more of like a balance build thing where you take your 2 favorite players in that range, and you add Davis in as your third.
The good thing about Cam Davis is you can get overweight on him and not sacrifice a ton. Like, if you want to get overweight on Decky and Sungjae, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to squeeze someone because they're going to be very, very popular, but that's not the case with Cam Davis. And let's move to the mid-range, because now as we get to the lower portion of the 9s and the upper 8s, I think we're kind of in that mid-range. Keegan is here at 92. Your boy Harris English has withdrawn, so we don't have to worry about him. Yager, Harmon, Aberg, who is super popular. He's like 25 to 1 now in some books, which is just straight predatory. Yep. But what do you look at when you see this kind of next group of guys?
Yeah, we do need to talk about Aberg here. I mean, he's definitely been bet down a little bit in spots. At the same time, like, you could say that, he shouldn't be 40 to 1 or 50 to 1. He hasn't done anything yet, but I mean, we're betting on future talent here. And it's like, you could say he doesn't done anything yet, but he's put together 3 top 25 finishes. And the last one came against an elite field. And we're not talking about a normal player. We're not talking about a guy who's just out there getting hot with his putter, or, he's just popping for a couple events. I mean, this guy is smashing it off the tee. He's already shown that maybe he's got a little bit more refined putter and short game. And I mean, he's gotten himself in the mix, like to the top 20, top 10 mix on the weekend already at an elevated event. So I don't think that you can sit back and say, oh, I got to wait and see with this guy. I mean, like, people are dumb for jumping in. Like, I just don't think that that's the case. I think if anything, there's 2 outcomes with Aberg. He plays poorly and he lets people down and his odds go back up, and that's fine. But if he plays well, this number's gone. Yep. You're not going to see him at 40 to 1 again if he top 10s or top 5s here or something. Like, through the summer, he'll just keep getting shorter and shorter. So I really don't have a problem taking a shot with him at that number. Sure, if your only option is 25 to 1 now, you've missed the boat. I mean, that's fine, but I really don't have a problem with this guy. And I like chasing the upside here at 8,700. I think that the price is up. I think there's enough people who are just going to hold their nose now and, just be like, I'm not going to pay this for this guy hasn't done anything yet. So we're talking about a course where you've got to be length plays, 4 par 5s, confident young player coming out of college, just hung with some big names over the weekend pretty well. I'll take a shot here. But I do like other players. I mean, I'm definitely bullish on Steven Jaeger this week. Played really well here last year. He's improved in every facet of the game since then. I don't know what the hell he was doing on the greens last week, but he flashed in spots despite all the poor putting. He still made a bunch of birdies, was pushing for first round leader for a couple minutes on Thursday. I think this is a great spot for Steven Jaeger. I'm definitely betting him. Going to take a shot with him this week.
Yeah, I mean, I can get on board. He might putt himself out of the tournament, and we've seen it actually at Rocket Mortgage. He's played here twice. 2019, he missed the cut. He lost 4.5 strokes putting. 2022, he came in 5th. He gained 5 strokes putting. Yep. Sometimes it's as simple as that. You need to hit it on the greens this week, and if you get that,
interesting factoid about Jaeger. Last 6 times he's lost 3 or more strokes in an event. 4 of those times he's come back and he's gained multiple strokes the next week. So he's been a pretty good bounce back candidate off bad putting weeks.
We're gonna need the bounce back because he was horrendous on
Bounce
the
all the
greens
way
last
back.
week.
Like we need the +7.
That would be nice. And it's funny. So with Aberg, I won't waste a ton of time. I don't have a strong take on him. I think he's a very solid play. And I tend to be very late on these guys. I've been playing them. I've been playing this guy. I played him last week, and I had seen enough. The difference, not to bring it back to Max Homa, but I do think that's one of the things really been trying to tell myself with these guys that come onto tour. They exponentially get better, it seems, with every start. Like Max Homa's 32.
Yeah.
He got, he obviously bloomed a little late, but it's like, it's just different when, like, Aberg could be the best player on tour in 18 months. You can take it by storm. Is he going to be? Probably not, but that's how him and Sargent and Bennett, those types, I think you can always bet on talent, unknown talent like that. So I get it. But we got to talk about the guy right below him who is going to be really key for me, and that is Alex Smalley. Alex Smalley has gained on the approach in 10 straight events. His putter has been hit and miss. The ball striking is good. 25th in Canada, 9th at Travelers. He's got easy course splits. I think that Alex Smalley sets up really well. I bet him this week. I'm playing him in DFS this week. I like him quite a bit in the mid-8s.
Yeah, you get no argument from me. I mean, the nice thing here, like, you don't necessarily have to pick and choose between Aberg and Smalley because they're both under 9K, but I agree. I mean, I know you've talked about him before. He was playing okay. Like you said, like, he's been gaining strokes, but it seems like he's hit kind of another level. And anyone who's just that consistent with their approach, I mean, they're gonna smash at some point. Like, if you just keep gaining strokes every week on the PGA Tour, just look at Daniel Berger. That's pretty much what the comp. I mean, a guy who just gains and gains every week with those irons, and then eventually just the putter gets sharp, the around the green game comes together. Like, it'll probably happen for Smalley. I could see him doing stuff this week too. Really don't hate that call. Maybe I'll even add him to bets this week.
Come on in. You get good numbers on Smalley too.
I know. Well, that's the thing. Like, we're talking. I mean, the other guy who's just gone absolutely nuts this week. I mean, the Austin Eckrout. And that guy's just gone crazy. He's down to like 35-1. So Eckrout and Aberg are, you're late, but you can still get a piece of Smalley. And I think he's definitely deserves to be in that same conversation. So I like it. Absolutely zero pushback. I think if anything too, we're talking, Aberg, absolutely talented, more talented player, but probably a wider range of outcomes still. Smalley, the way he's hitting it, you want a little bit of comfort in this range. I mean, I think just jumping on Smalley makes a lot of sense.
Eckroat and Benyon are going to be the chalk in this range. I like Benyon a lot more than Eckroat. Nothing against him, but I'm rolling the dice a little bit. I'm going to Straka, going to Hadwin with some of those shares in the low 8s. Again, it's not a indictment on his game. It's nothing. He was good at Travelers. He did gain 6 strokes. Sorry. Putting. See, look what Eckroat's doing to me. That's a sign. I'm underweight on this guy at nearly 20%. I don't have a ton else to say. I like the pivots in that range with Hadwin. Benyon's not a pivot, but I think he's better chalk if I had to choose one.
Yeah. I mean, Benyon off the tee, super consistent. Even if he
short
fucks
game
up a little on the green, I mean, it's not going to be that, like, he'll probably still make the cut. I like Eckroat. I mean, he's hitting the ball really well too, but again, you feel like maybe he's coming off a career putting week. I mean, he's played quite a bit of golf too. That's the other thing. Always worries me a little bit. I mean, it's hard to predict. I know that we've got some stats that have looked at that. The guy's performance declined a little bit, but it's always a hit and miss thing. I just think that he's going to be super popular. So, I think the other thing you could do for building lineups is you could just skip this range together. I mean, I really like those guys in the high 8Ks. We talked about 3. I'd almost be okay just trying to bypass this range altogether. There's some okay names. Like, I don't hate the Hadwin call for a pivot, but even like Taylor Moore, I don't have a ton of confidence in. Straka could hit or miss, but trying to take this range out of play is like not a bad idea for me either.
Let's keep working down to the bottom half of the mid-range. You've got Aaron Rye, Hogard, Davis Riley, Bez, who was just Bez had the course is like playing like 6 under par. Bez had 3 double bogeys on 1-9 on Thursday. And he still
Yeah.
shot like, I think he was like a couple over.
It
It
was
just
like
shows
70. Yeah.
it's so stupid. But Bo Hostler, Bramlett, Sargent, Hubbard, these are very playable names in the mid sevens. How do you untangle a crowded range?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what Aaron Rye's like ownership is going to be, but I definitely feel like he's probably going to be the name that people click on. I don't hate it. I don't necessarily love it just because of the course. It's again, he's one of the shortest hitters off the tee. He's not going to gain advantage. He's a pretty good long iron player though. So, I mean, I think Rye's probably going to be okay, but I'd also be okay. Like we're in the 7K range now. Like if he's going to be the absolute chalk here, I think looking for pivots is actually pretty good. I gotta say, I'm again putting myself into the shark infested waters, but like I'm okay trying out Davis Riley again here.
Oh my God.
He has been absolutely manic as usual last two events. Gained 4 strokes on approach at whatever was played before the US Open. Memorial, and then gained like 6 strokes on putting last week while losing like 4 strokes on approach. So, but he shot like a 63 as well. He shot a couple of really low rounds. I actually, one thing, I bet if you're just like, I'm not using him in DFS, Geoff, I like money. Bet him first round leader. That's one thing to consider. He's got an early tee time. I wrote him up from first round leader bets, but I do think he's an interesting pivot here. No one's going to use him. If Davis Riley comes in and gets hot with the putter and just puts together like a decent number, like a couple of rounds where he hits the irons well, he'll get to like 15 under, 16 under. And don't forget, like he can smash it off the tee. And there's I don't think there's much water here. So, you know, like he's not going to lose golf balls.
He might find water.
He probably will find it like Grillo or something, but
yeah, Palmer does that.
He's definitely a magnet off the tee, but I think he could be okay this week. I really do. And if you get him across he's kind of like Cam Davis. You get him across the cut line, you could get a really, really good round on Sunday. So he's risky. You don't need much to go over, but I do kind of like pivoting in this range regardless. What about Hogart? Feels like another guy who just can't find a fairway, but this should be a good course for Nikolai Hogart. Like I'm almost tempted to like throw some money on him. He's been a disaster. Like he's
a really tough.
Yeah.
Where's again? Like we're hitting all the high notes here, but where is Rasmus? Why is he never here?
I don't know. I figured they just go in tandem. Like when these guys both popped up, I was like, oh, they'll just come together. But
I was told, or maybe I made this up, that Rasmus was at this point like far superior, and he's just never around.
Yeah. I think right. I mean, from what I've seen, you're right.
Yeah, Rasmus can really play. I think that Aaron Rye is an interesting A, first round leader bet, and B, outright bet in general. And I'm coming in possibly a little underweight on DFS. I do have outright exposure to Rye. I think he's a big volatile option. I also think in it, and this is again, I don't have evidence of this, but I think that when the cut is like 5 under, chalk is even more at a disadvantage because I don't care. It's just really hard. A couple of unlucky bounces and you just straight miss the cut. And
your putter just doesn't show up for a round and you're done. Like it's not even that you don't play well. It's just like you don't sink putts. But we've seen it so many years in the past. I remember, I think it was the first or second year, you had like Bubba, Finau, Ricky were like the top 3 guys and they all missed the cut. And I know that's not like the most dominant first 3 names, but when like 5 out of the 6 top players miss the cut, like it's a pretty variable event. So probably won't happen this year, but yeah.
I mean, you see it every day on Friday. Like look where and I get it. Things move and that's just when you're going low. But Friday morning, like guys will be, in like 7th and they'll be like 2 or 1 stroke off the cut line where it'll eventually land because it's that crazy. A couple of mistakes and you're right there to be cut. So last guys we worked down, I do want to ask you, and again, I think a lot of it is an unknown, but from what I know, Gordon Sargent obviously has some real ability off the tee. Yep. He was good at the Masters for 1 hole. He was good at the US Open for the whole stretch. He played very well for a young kid.
Yeah.
I don't know what we get. I don't think this is comparable to Aberg personally. He may end up being way better, but we have seen a small body of work, but this is legitimately this guy's first non-major.
Yeah.
So I think it's different, but I think he's playable.
No, I agree. I mean, I think just knowing what we're get with Aberg, because he's played a few times, like you said, he's been in the rotation. It's hard to compare. At the same time, like, I really wouldn't be that shocked if Gordon Sargent came in and, like, not won, but I mean, I'd be really shocked if that happened. But
That would be
got
absurd.
into the mix. I mean, him and Aberg were pretty much like neck and neck in terms of college. I think Aberg is probably the more complete player, just from what I've seen and heard and listened to and stuff. But yeah, I agree. He's playable. I will say too, like, since we're at the 7,500 range, I mean, I really like Brandon Wu this week. I mean, talk about an underrated player. Brandon Wu has, like, I think it's 9 top 10s on tour over the last, like, 2 years. This guy is really good at getting in the mix in weaker fields. He was 30th here last year. He's been gaining off the tee the last couple. And the thing about Brandon Wu is he can absolutely just get hot in certain areas of his game. You know, he's gained over 5 strokes putting 3 of his last 10 starts. He's just a good young player. And I think, like, this kind of event, exactly where you'd expect him to strike. So another player I like down here for sure.
Yeah, no problem with Brandon Wu, actually. Shout out to Greg who did some PGA Sims work that you can check out as well. And Brandon Wu was all over some of those top lineups. He is someone that I think makes a lot of sense here. And I don't love the range, so I have plenty of room. Rogers withdrew, not really on Detry, not really on Todd. Now it gets a little serious. So I'll get Noren out of the way first. I do think Noren is playable. He actually has easy course splits, and he was playing all right. His off the tee game is pathetically bad. Yeah. But Doug Gim really makes sense. And Doug Gim is definitely going to get some steam. He's going to be hovering around 10%, but Doug Gim is playing good golf. Had him last week, and he looked good.
Playing fantastic, man. Smashing it off the tee. The approach wasn't even that good last week, but the thing I like about Doug Gim right now is he's kind of gaining everywhere. The putter is still needs to come to life, but, like, you know, he's found an around the green game. Like, he's playing just really good tee to green. Like I said, I mean, what did he? I can't even remember where he finished. He had another great round. I was betting him in matchups all week, and just cashing. So, which is great for me. But you know, like, again, just playing great golf and ending strong. I mean, I again, you asked me, like, one regular kind of bet I give people this week. I just say bet Doug Gim top 40. He's killing it off the tee. On a place where off the tee tends to, like, gain you, you know, where strong off the tee players have gained. The approach game for Doug Gim can take off at any point. The around the green game seems to have really just taken a step up, which is great for these par 5s. I don't know, man. I mean, if we get a good putting week from him, I really think this could be a special week for him. So really interested to see what he does this week. Definitely, you know, in terms of investment on there. Yeah, I wouldn't even care if he's 10%. I mean, 15%, you know, maybe start to think about it a little, but he's playing really good golf. Just trying to think of who else in this range we can talk about, but gets a little thin quick after Doug.
It's not great, but that's good because I don't.
Nick Hardy is actually interesting. I don't hate that.
Yeah, I'm a Nick Hardy guy too. He just never seems to, like. I feel like he's the type of guy better showdown play. He flashes, but then you look where he finished. It's like, oh, he came in 47th. Like, wait, what? Lee Hodges, I think, is interesting.
I was just gonna say Lee Hodges,
another good off the tee player. And then we got to talk about Kevin Yu. Kevin Yu is getting a lot of steam, and he should be because he sets up well.
Yeah, I mean, just a good young player who just seems like a little mispriced because he's missed some time. He from all things considered, he just looks like a really, really strong off the tee player who is going to make a ton of birdies. I mean, you really just couldn't ask for a better player down here at the 7K range, right? So, and the thing is, like, yes, Kevin Yu is going to be popular, but he's also 7K, which, like, not everybody builds lineups that go down this deep. So there's a cap to his ownership. At least I think there will be. And I think that's actually being shown well in our projections. which again, if you guys sign up for stokastic.com for a weekly trial or a daily trial, you can come get them, and you should do it after the video.
Below.
But yeah, that's just my take on Kevin Yu. I think he's fine. Just play him. Sets up really well. I don't think that the ownership's going to be crazy. Sure, if you're using Ricky and Rye and a couple other really popular players, maybe don't use Kevin Yu as well. But you can find some. We've already talked about like some. Use Davis Riley if you want to get your own ownership down, but or whatever, someone like that. So yeah, I think Kevin Yu is absolutely fine. There's two names here who we can dwell on here though, since it's an off the tee week. Ben, what about Luke List and Cameron Champ? Are we going there or no?
So let's see. Luke List do have a little exposure. Honestly, I think Ryan Palmer is playable too, right above him.
Batia is down here too.
So that's who I thought you were gonna say. I think you just kind of have to understand that most likely the large chance is that Luke List putts like he always does, and that makes it literally impossible for him to do well here. But if he doesn't, and you get lucky, Luke List has a lot going for him in here. I think he's kind of a large field tournament only. He's going to be very, very, very unowned. I can't do it with Champ, though. I just can't. I get it. I understand, but his game is so poor right now, and it's been poor for the predominantly of 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you. If you want to get some exposure to Champ, go throw $10 on him at 100 or 150 to 1, whatever.
I'd rather do that.
I think that's probably the better play. List is, I actually am intrigued by List this week. I think List actually has a better chance of like popping. He played pretty well last week, and he actually gained strokes putting, and that could change. The greens, I mean, who knows? But the rest of his game is actually starting to trend up a little bit, and I think it's interesting. He's kind of an underrated around the green player. Like when he's really going, he's actually very good around the green. So I think List is actually worth thinking about. Champ, I agree with you. I'd actually rather play Batia, even though his putting has just been a complete nightmare. We were talking about Luke List. Batia's putting over the last few events has been insanely bad. I don't know what he's doing, but that could change. These guys are all risky.
Ryan Palmer, man.
Palmer, hey? Okay.
He's playing better than you would think. Again, there's putting issues, but easy courses. I thought he played pretty well last week. Another guy that, I mean, over his career, I think has shown maybe easy tracks are more his speed. I don't
absolutely. Yeah.
particularly love it, but limited options down here. And I mean, let's do it. Let's get to the salary savers. Let's get to the bottom of the range. And again, we'll just remind you one more time. The description of this video, when you're on YouTube, you're going to see all the links there. Feel free to click them and just at least read what they're about. We showed you the generator, the PGA Sims if you're really looking for advanced tools, and obviously half off your first month. We want you guys to have that in your Rainmakers pack. So make sure to check out those links. Even if you end up saying none of this stuff is what I need, just get all the information you can. That really helps. Who in the sixes are we going to? I got names. I think there are playable guys down here, and it starts with Sam Bennett, who I don't really understand his price.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's funny. We're talking about all these young players, but I mean, this is the dude who finished 16th at the Masters, looked pretty damn good at the Canadian Open, finishing T20 there on a tricky little course. Why not Sam Bennett this week, really, right? Who cares that he missed the cut at the Travelers? I mean, it's funny because I say who cares, but then I also bring up the fact that Aberg was able to get there, which kind of, I get maybe that just credits my Aberg argument. Anyways, regardless, I agree. We're talking DFS price 6,900. I think it's absolutely fine. If this was an elite field event and we had other options down here, sure, maybe you don't need to click on Sam Bennett, but like our other options are like Joel Damon, Vincent Norman, who is completely just fallen off the map again, Novak. I mean, like the options aren't few and far between. We're getting a pretty big talent disparity here. I like it. I will throw out another name at 6,900, Callum Tarrant,
Yep.
who I like quite a bit, actually. Really been great off the tee the last couple weeks. The putter hasn't been great, but he has shown, kind of like some of these other dudes, he can just get really hot with that club. And I don't know if you remember, Ben, but he was hot around this time last year, finished 20th here and then 7th at Minnesota. Seems to be heating up again. I really like both those guys. Those would be the two players right off the bat at 69 for me.
Yeah, Taram was the other guy. I looked at Ben Martin a little bit. I think you could Grayson Sig at 67.
Yeah.
Is a guy that I like. He's 19th at Travelers, 38th in Canada. Gained strokes off the tee in 8 of 10. He's gained strokes putting in 2 straight, which is usually a problem for him. He had lost in 8 straight events before that. He strikes me as this type of guy. He's got easy course splits. Best finish on tour was the 3M. I think that's pretty encouraging altogether. So I think Sig at 67 is a fine play. You know who's honestly not a fine play, and it upsets me unless you tell me otherwise? Trey Mullinax has really, really lost his game here.
Hurts me. This would be such a good track for Trey too. He's big off the tee. He's got that extra wide room. I don't know what the hell happened to him, man. I thought he was going to have a big year. He was playing so good. He was getting in contention in some elite fields. Played good over the fall. It just all fell apart for him. I don't know, man. I mean, always just looking to see what he's doing, but there's just nothing going for him right now. The irons are crap. Off the tee doesn't even look good. He can't putt anymore. Like, I don't know. I mean, I wish I could make some argument because like this is where I would say he's going to get hot, but maybe a really roll the dice play if you want. Because again, like I do think like his distance off the tee, if he can just get it together there, that could lead to things. But man, he is playing poorly right now. So probably just best to stay away.
Got a couple minutes left, and we're gonna build certainly a lineup before we get out of here. But I'm gonna take what's going on in chat and bring it to the screen. Hano Goya, is that really something that we might be looking at? This is a guy that CJ just brought up. I have no idea. So you can make the case. I
mean, it's not a super strong case, but I mean, he's made a couple cuts at the easier events, and we're looking we're dumpster diving, as CJ put it. So
yes,
our other options are Jonathan Bird, who I saw someone mention earlier, and my guy Russell Knox, who actually just missed out on the top 40 last week. But I'm not playing Russell Knox on this course. He made the cut last week. Nice to see, but yeah, Goya. I mean, I think when you get down here, there's not much appeal. But Goya's made a couple cuts in easier events. I'm just looking and making sure I didn't miss anybody that I actually like.
Kevin Roy is a name that I've seen a couple people mention.
Yeah, he can't putt.
I don't. Succession is over.
Berensky, maybe. I don't know.
He's here.
That guy's here.
Kyle Stanley's here.
Oh boy.
Kyle Stanley is looking to get his first top 50 since March of 2022. So
Brent Grant might be. I'll throw out Brent Grant. I mean, he's a big hitter.
Okay.
We've seen him pop a little bit. He's 8th at Corrales. He was T21 on KFT, the Corn Ferry Tour last week. Grant or Goya. That's probably where I'd go. These are try not to go down this low is probably the best way to do it.
I'm trying to land with Sig as my last man. Any love for my boy Schwab? Oh boy. Not really.
That's another guy. Like what has happened to Matthias Schwab? I mean,
he used to be like legitimately good.
I mean, that's the thing. We joke about him now, but like this was a player who we were really high on for a bit. I mean,
he almost won a WGC
season. Like, man, like it's a little painful to see these guys like Mullinax, Schwab. I mean, geez,
guys that I
get it together.
Times, even I mean, I don't think EVR is here, but like he's another one.
He is here, isn't he?
If he's here, I'm going to be quite upset because
he is. He's 64. I was looking at him. He is. What the hell is this guy doing? He hasn't shot a round better than 70. He shot 72, 73 at the Travelers. Holy
EVR, man. Like for people that don't, if you're not deep into like Euro golf, I can't tell you how good EVR was.
Yeah.
Like a legitimate player. And now he's down with Ross Steelman, who's in this field. Who's Ross Steelman? Tell the people about that guy. You ever hear that name before?
No.
Okay. Not Kevin Streelman, Ross Steelman.
Ross Steelman. Maybe it is Kevin Streelman getting a second entry.
What is this guy?
Play 36 a day.
He is coming in hot. 58th at the Compliance Solutions Championship. So we'll keep an eye on Steelman. All right. What do you say, Jordan Klein? Let's build one. Let's see what we can do here. Build lineup time. If you guys, again, I know it's the Rocket Mortgage. So many people in here, and we really do appreciate it. Easiest way to show support, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, check out all the links, do all the things. Just be part of the family. That's really all we ask. Any way that you want to be, whether it's being a member, checking out the shows. If you have questions, at JazzRazDFS, at the Fantasy Grind. Also important. We're always on Twitter. Happy to help. But let's build the beauty before we get out of here. Where are we starting?
I mean, I like this 8K range. I'm just I just thought Chad Collins was here, by the way. That's another thing.
Oh, great.
God, this week just feels, I mean, I'm just going to go, you know what? We like this 8K range. Let's go with, let's give you the honors. Do you want to just take Smalley, or should I take Smalley for you?
Well, if you don't,
I'll take Smalley for you. I'm going to take Alex Smalley for you.
All right, great.
I like it. He's not super highly owned. He's in a range we like. Let's go. Yeah.
And I'll
take it from there.
I'll kind of return the favor a little bit because I like Alex Smalley quite a bit, but I also really like Brandon Wu, who is 7,500 and just the guy is performing. He seems to be unaffected by course or field. Brandon Wu is just good. And now we have plenty of options. We can go pretty much anywhere.
I am going to go, you know what? I just like Tony Finau this week for DFS. Okay. Let's throw Tony Finau in there and mix it up. I just don't think his ownership is going to be very high. I mean, he's going to be owned, but I really think a lot of people are going to be looking towards like the Fowler Thomas range.
So we go get Tony. And again, we're not pressed for salary, but this guy won't hurt us by any stretch. And you and me we both have bet him. Doug Gim is the type of talent that I think might be getting. We saw this with Justin Sue a little bit, who, by the way, is in this field and is like the best putter in the world, maybe. Doug Gim lost it, and now he's found it again. And I kind of want to buy while things are trending upward. So give me Doug Gim at 7,400.
I really like the way he's playing right now, man. He is really just consistent off the tee. He's giving himself opportunities. This is perfect because we can either go Aberg or Yager, and that's going to leave us with Yager and Sig, or Aberg and whoever we want at 69.
Oh yeah.
I will put. Oh boy. Okay, I'll put Aberg in. That'll give us more options, and it pains me not to put Jaeger in, but you know that's fine.
No, that's good. Yeah, so we go Aberg here, and even though it's obviously not a great range, let's be honest, you have real options. As you kind of just alluded to, you could go to Sig. You could certainly go to Bennett. I'm going to go to Callum Tarrant, though.
I really like Callum Tarrant.
Yeah.
I think that's where I would go to.
A
lot of upside with the putter, the irons, and off the tee has been really consistent lately.
Yeah. He's got some talent. We've seen it. We saw 17 under at RSM. He can definitely do it.
Yep.
And you're not worried about ownership in this range. So a lot of my teams look exactly like this week. So I really like what we're doing here, and that's a team, man. This is an event. I tell you what, this team, like,
my betting card is like,
oh my God,
100 to 1, 200 to 1, Taryn, Gim, Wu.
Besides Decky,
it's kind of fun, to be honest. Like, I'm almost looking forward to it. I want one of these guys to win. It's fun.
I'll be so mad if Ricky wins this week.
What do you think? Do you think he's going to win?
No,
I don't think so either. I would love for Ricky to miss like 3 cuts and then win the Open at like 60.
That would be useful.
That would be awesome.
The opposite is going to happen. He's going to win the next 3 events, and then I'm gonna play. He'll be like 7,400 at the Open and 50%, and I'll somehow still use them, and it'll get cut at wherever they are. But there we have it, friends. Again, appreciate you guys hanging out. Any information, you can always tweet us, and the links are below for the lineup generator and all the great tools here at Stokastic. But for me, for Jeff, for Jordan Klein behind the gas, the 3rd member of our team, appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully, I got some good information for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Good luck, enjoy, and come back next week. John Deere Classic. If you thought today was absurd, just wait. Until then, friends, good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
That course.